Hi, my name is Eden. I'm 15 years old. I go to Brownsburg High School and I run track and field there. I started track and field when I was 13 years old. I did gymnastics for 11 years and then I went out of the blue and decided that I wanted to do something different. And so I joined my school's cross country team when I was in eighth grade and I ended up doing track there in the spring and I ended up really liking the sport. And I found the Club Storm through a friend and I started training with them during indoor. That was my first ever track season was with Storm indoor. And then I went to my middle school and I did track there. And I started out doing a lot of distance stuff. In mid distance, I ran like the 1600, I ran the 800 because I had done cross country in the fall. And so that's kind of what people were like expecting me to do. And then towards the end of the year, I started doing the 400 and my coach started realizing that I was a lot better sprinter than I was a distance runner. And so I ended up winning my conference meet in middle school. And then I went on to state and I was my team. I went to a small school. I went to Tri West when I was in eighth grade and we placed fifth in the 4x8 and seventh in the 4x4, which was pretty big for like how small my middle school was. And then towards the end of that year, I kind of realized that I probably wasn't going to have that many opportunities if I was going to continue doing track at that school. And so I ended up transferring to Brownsburg for my freshman year. Coach Hicks was the person that kind of got me involved in the track program there. And pretty much off the bat, I was kind of like straight into like lots of 400 stuff. I think I wasn't necessarily going into Brownsburg, I wasn't necessarily expecting to be like, I wasn't expecting to have the place on the team that I have when I first went there, just because I was new and Brownsburg is like a huge school compared to Tri West. And I didn't necessarily know like if there were going to be a lot of people there that were like better than me. And like, I guess I didn't realize like the significant of like, oh, like I actually like am good at this sport. And so I started doing, I think my first indoor meet was the indoor conference. I think the HCC indoor conference meet. And our team placed second in the 4x4, which was the highest that we have ever placed before. And I ended up PRing fast. Ran faster than my outdoor time that I had in the previous year, which my coach was telling me, like, you're in a really good spot. Like, we want people to be able to run their closer to their outdoor times and get as close as they can to their outdoor times during indoor. And so that was kind of like the start of my freshman season. And from there, it kind
No,
of,
well, I was just gonna. I was pardon the interruption. I was just my question to you was, like when you because this is all new, you're a freshman and you have all this major exposure all of a sudden. How did your perspective on the sport change? Because before it sounds like you were, I just want to do something different. I don't want to do gymnastics anymore. I'm just gonna go out here and run track, and they're running. I'm do cross country. And then all of a sudden, you're like, I'm a freshman. I'm in here. I'm running varsity. We're running a placing the highest we've ever placed in our conference meet. How did that change your perspective on the sport?
I think it kind of showed me that I could go places. And like, I kind of didn't, I think I went like when I was in gymnastics, like I knew that like track was a sport, but I guess I didn't necessarily know like the value, I guess. Because I mean, when I was in gymnastics, I didn't think track was like a joke, but like I didn't, but when I was, no, but when I was in gymnastics, I kind of thought like track and cross country were like the same thing. And I thought cross country was kind of dumb before I started doing it because it was just like, oh, you're just running for fun. Like that looks awful. And so like when I'm doing track now, or when I was doing track then, I kind of realized like, oh, like this is different. Like this is fun. Like this is something that I could put as much sacrifice as an effort as I did into gymnastics, and I kind of started like taking it more seriously.
I mean, that's cool. So, being that it's all new and you're learning about it, and now you know it's not a joke.
Yeah.
Who's your biggest inspiration when it comes to the sport?
Like a person or like a coach
It
or
could be either a person,
Anyone.
coach,
Yeah.
anybody.
I would probably say the coach that I had when I was in middle school, I think is probably my biggest inspiration and kind of like how he used running into something positive when like things in life aren't necessarily as positive. Like, I think he kind of showed me that there are going to be ups and downs in life, and you're going to have to like deal with the negatives and turn negatives into positives. And I think he was that coach. And I think he kind of showed me like that you can use track, like there's more to life than track and field, but you can use track and field or like a sport in general to help you gain character for the things like in your future.
Right.
So Eden, you talked about your coach. I want to you to have give him a quick shout out. I heard you say Coach Hicks at Brownsburg, but who is your middle school coach?
My
Um,
middle school coach is Bobby Thompson.
okay, shout out to Bobby Thompson.
Yeah.
And so, Eden, you've had a lot of great transition, right? You found your love for the sport. What's been your most memorable experience so far from competing in track and field?
I think my most memorable experience was probably at state, like high school state. I think I didn't run my best state, but I remember like just kind of like sitting there and like watching people that I care about run good and excel, and just like being so grateful for the opportunity to be there, and just being so grateful for like the experiences that I've had, and just not taking anything like for granted, I guess. I think I felt just so not honored, but just like grateful that I everything was kind of like starting to fall into place, even though like state didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. I think I gained so much from that meet, and I gained so much like from my freshman year.
Has that changed the way you kind of define success when it comes to track and field? I mean, I know you said you didn't run your best, but when you're on the track, what does success look like for you?
I think being able to come out of, do you mean like success as in like each meet or like the sport as a whole?
Each meet. So like say you each race really. So what is it like? What would you leave a race and be like, okay, that was a good race, or yeah, so for you to be like, that was successful.
I think coming out of the race, learning something, I think I've gotten pretty good at like when I even when I have good races, like learning from different things, but especially when I have races that aren't so good or like I don't PR, like walking out of the race, like knowing that I can improve and change. Like if I did something wrong, knowing like, oh, I did that. So I can apply that to my future races. And so I'm not like making the same mistakes over and over again.
All right, nice.
Cool. So you talked about, being able to look and observe the wins and the losses. And so what do you think are some aspects or values for an athlete to have, right? You seem like you really take wins and losses in stride. You learn something from both. So what are some things or attributes that athletes should have? What should they value?
Like value as in like
Yeah.
character traits, or
Mhm. Yes.
I think good athletes should have like the hunger and the drive to like want to do better in the sport, but also being able to stay humble. I think it's very like easy in an individual sport like track and field to get caught up in yourself sometimes, and like saying, oh, I did this, oh, I did this, like this was me, and like getting a little prideful sometimes. But then, pride can bleed into other things like not being the best teammate and not being the best athlete to coach. And so I think it's still important to still have confidence and like the hunger and want, but also making sure that you are staying humble and yeah.
Yeah. Now you mentioned teammates. What can you tell us? What, in your opinion, what makes you a great teammate?
I think that I am good at making sure that, like, if teammates are struggling or if teammates are maybe not having the best day, helping them understand that they obviously, no one can really like make someone believe this, but helping them understand that like they're worth more than the sport, like understanding that one bad race isn't going to define you, and like one bad workout isn't the end of the world, like lifting people up and just making practices and meets, trying to contribute to making it like a more enjoyable like atmosphere.
Okay.
So you talked about, you shared with us what it's like to be a great teammate, which it sounds like you do an amazing job with team camaraderie. What makes you a great competitor? Like when people see you, like, oh, there's Eden, or oh, Eden.
I would say, like, do you mean like in competitor as in like,
Yes, like what makes you a great competitor? So your opposing team, you're up on the line. What makes you that, like, you're the it factor, just with how you engage, if at all, with your competition?
I'd say I'm a pretty friendly person. I don't really like people like being upset with me. And so like after races and stuff, talk to other teammates and like congratulate them. I think it's easier to do like in school than like it would be like for club where I don't necessarily know a bunch of the other people that I'm competing with. But like especially in school, especially once you get into like postseason and you're competing with a lot of the same people, just uplifting them and just letting them know that like I don't see them as like an enemy or anything. And so, yeah,
Cool. So it sounds like, oh, we're good job after the race. But
yeah,
during the race, you're locked in and you're focused.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well, tell me, like you, I know you were a freshman last year, so you did everything was kind of new. Coming in this year as a sophomore, you have a little bit more of a expectation, I would assume. So, how do you see yourself contributing to your team this year overall, either in relays or individual events, or with conference meet, state meet, all that type of stuff? What role do you see yourself playing?
I'm hoping to obviously continue like running the 400, but also hopefully running the 4x1. I think that there are a lot of our good sprinters last year that were on our 4x1 were seniors and they've left this year. And so I want to give more to my team other than like just one event, kind of growing my range and helping my team place higher in meets like conference. I'm also hoping to podium like at state this year to just like contribute to like team scores more, because I think we have a pretty good group of freshman girls coming in. And so just the more help and the more range that I have in my events, I think will help our team place and score better at meets.
Nice. Well, Eden, we appreciate you coming on. If people want to follow you and look at your career and kind of keep up with you, how can they do that?
So probably through my Instagram page. I have a track and field Instagram page where I post all of my like track content, or I guess, and like training videos.
What's that handle?
It is, can I look it up real quick?
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, for sure.
I don't have it memorized. It is Eden underscore track dot field on Instagram.
Cool. All right. Well, we look
Well,
forward to interviewing you again later on in the season. Appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah,
And we look forward to seeing you this season.
absolutely. We are
thank
excited.
you.
Yes.